It happened on a Tuesday morning in April 2087. The sky above every major city on Earth suddenly filled with shimmering lights. News channels broke into regular broadcasts as giant ships appeared through the clouds. They were unlike anything humans had built, smooth, crystalline vessels that moved without sound and seemed to glow from within. Panic spread at first. Traffic stopped. People poured into streets and squares, looking up with fear and wonder. Some ran home to their families. Others stood frozen, recording with their devices. After decades of movies about alien invasions, the real thing had finally happened. The largest ship, nearly a mile long, positioned itself above New York City. Smaller ships hovered over Beijing, London, Moscow, Cairo, and Rio de Janeiro. For 3 hours they just floated there, silent and waiting. In Washington, D.C., President Eleanor Grant called an emergency meeting. Military leaders wanted to ready the defense systems. Scientists urged peaceful contact. After intense debate, they chose diplomacy first. "We will not shoot first," President Grant announced in a worldwide broadcast. "We will show them that Earth comes in peace but stands ready to defend itself if necessary." Captain Olivia Martinez sat in the Situation Room watching the broadcast. At 42, she had served in the Navy for 20 years before joining diplomatic service. The president's staff had called her just an hour ago. Now she was being told she would lead Earth's first contact team. "Why me?" she had asked the president's chief of staff. "You understand both military protocol and diplomatic relations. The president trusts your judgment." Now she sat between Dr. William Harris, a physicist with wild gray hair and nervous hands, and Damon Kelly, a former Marine who headed the diplomatic security team. They watched the screens as the ship above New York opened what appeared to be a doorway of light. "They're making the first move," Kelly said, his hand instinctively moving toward where his gun would normally be. A beam of blue light extended from the ship to the ground in Central Park. Through it floated 3 figures. They were tall and slender with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their faces had 2 large eyes that blinked sideways, small nose slits, and no visible mouth. They wore what looked like armor made of the same crystal-like material as their ships. The aliens raised their 4-fingered hands in what seemed to be a peaceful gesture. One stepped forward and suddenly English words came from a device on its chest. "People of Earth, we are the Zenithian Federation. We come to welcome you to the galactic community." Within hours, Martinez, Harris, and Kelly were on a plane to New York. By evening, they stood in a hastily arranged meeting room at the United Nations facing the alien delegation. "I am Ambassador Xel Thorne," said the lead alien, its skin shifting from blue to purple. "These are my associates, Science Officer Foxmira and Security Commander Zoltek." Each alien nodded as they were introduced. "Welcome to Earth," Martinez said, forcing confidence into her voice. "I'm Captain Olivia Martinez, representing the United Nations. With me are Dr. William Harris and Security Chief Damon Kelly." The next 6 hours were filled with basic exchanges of information. The aliens spoke of their federation of 7 species spread across hundreds of star systems. They showed holographic images of worlds and technologies that made Earth's greatest achievements seem like children's toys. "Your species has progressed quickly for how young you are," Xel Thorne said, his tone somehow containing both praise and condescension. "Your digital technology and genetic sciences show promise. Your space vessels, however—" He made a sound that the translator didn't catch, but his meaning was clear. Dr. Harris bristled. "Our spacecraft have successfully explored our entire solar system." "Indeed," said Voxmira, her skin rippling with gold patterns. "At chemical rocket speeds. Quite resourceful, given your limitations." Martinez noticed how the aliens always spoke of humans as if they were clever pets who had performed an unexpected trick. Each compliment came with a reminder of how far behind Earth was. The aliens displayed more holograms, showing devices that could replicate matter, harness energy from what they called subspace, and travel faster than light. Each demonstration was met with amazed silence from the human team. "And this," said Xel Thorne, displaying a small silver sphere, "is a basic medical unit. It can cure most diseases your species suffers from." Kelly leaned toward Martinez and whispered, "They're showing off." She nodded slightly. The pattern was clear. The aliens weren't just sharing information, they were establishing dominance. Near midnight, Zelthorn finally revealed their purpose. The Zenithian Federation wishes to extend an invitation to Earth. We offer membership as a developing associate world. What exactly does that mean? Martinez asked. You would receive guidance and protection. Your technology would be gradually upgraded. Your resources would contribute to the Federation, and in return you would receive the benefits of our advanced civilization. And if we decline? Kelly asked. Zelthorn's skin darkened. That would be unfortunate. The galaxy can be dangerous for isolated worlds, but of course the choice belongs to Earth. After the meeting, President Grant connected by secure video. Martinez gave her assessment. They're offering to be our teachers and protectors, but I sense they see us more as a resource to be claimed. They're confident we have no choice, but to accept. Do we? Asked the president. Dr. Harris spoke up. Their technology is beyond anything we've developed publicly. But what? The president prompted. Martinez finished his thought. But they don't know everything about us. They've only seen what we've shown the world. The next day, world leaders gathered virtually while Martinez's team met again with the aliens. Zelthorn displayed maps of Earth, suggesting locations for Zenithian outposts. These would be perfect locations for our guidance centers, he said, highlighting spots near major military installations. Martinez smiled diplomatically. We'll need time to consider your proposal and locations. Of course, said Zelthorn. Take all the time you need. We understand simple decisions can be difficult for developing species. That evening, in a secure underground facility beneath the UN building, Martinez met with military and intelligence leaders from around the world. They're scanning everything, said General Victor Rodriguez. Our satellites have detected their ships mapping our entire planet. Let them look, Martinez said. They'll only see what we've always shown to the public. Admiral Richard Stevens nodded. The question is, how long do we keep up this act? How long do we let them think we're less advanced than we are? Martinez looked around the room at the assembled leaders. We play along until we understand their true intentions. If they're genuinely here to welcome us to a peaceful galactic community, wonderful. But if not, she didn't need to finish. Everyone in the room knew about the hidden fleets, the secret technologies, the true extent of Earth's defenses that had been kept classified for decades. For now, Martinez said, we smile and nod and look impressed, and we watch their every move. 2 weeks passed since the Zenithian ships first appeared in Earth's skies. Their presence had become almost normal for people in major cities. Tourists took pictures with the giant ships in the background. Street vendors sold alien toys and t-shirts. News channels ran constant coverage of the visitors. Captain Martinez stood at the window of her temporary office at the United Nations, watching the Zenithian shuttle land for their scheduled meeting. Today they would face a new challenge. The aliens had requested a tour of Earth's military facilities. They're right on time, said Damon Kelly, checking his watch. Got to give them credit for punctuality. Dr. Harris looked up from his tablet. They've requested access to Naval Station Norfolk, Peterson Space Force Base, and the Lunar Research Station. Martinez nodded. All carefully selected by Admiral Powell. They'll see exactly what we want them to see. Ambassador Zelthorn entered, the room with 2 Zenithian guards. His skin rippled with blue and green patterns. Captain Martinez, I trust you have arranged our inspections. Martinez offered a polite smile. Of course, Ambassador. Admiral Powell himself will guide your tour of Norfolk tomorrow morning. Zelthorn made a sound that his translator rendered as satisfaction. Excellent. These inspections are merely formalities. We must understand your defensive capabilities to properly integrate Earth into the Federation's protection network. After the aliens left to prepare for the tour, Martinez activated a secure communication link to Admiral Vincent Powell at the Pentagon. They're taking the bait, she reported. The Norfolk tour is set for 0900 tomorrow. Powell's face on the screen remained serious. Everything is prepared. They'll see our oldest aircraft carrier, some outdated destroyers, and the training facilities. Nothing that would concern them. And the other matters? Martinez asked. Our surveillance team has confirmed they've planted monitoring devices throughout major government buildings. Just as we suspected, we've been feeding them carefully curated information. Later that day, Lieutenant Stephanie Russell arrived at Martinez's office with a secure tablet. The young intelligence officer had dark circles under her eyes. "Lieutenant, you look like you haven't slept," Martinez said. "I haven't, ma'am. We cracked their communication encryption last night." She handed over the tablet. "You need to see this." Martinez read through the translated communications and felt her blood run cold. The messages were between Ambassador Zellthorn and what appeared to be his superiors. They spoke of Earth as a strategic acquisition and humans as manageable labor resources. Most concerning was mention of a conflict with something called the Draconian Collective, and plans to use Earth as a buffer outpost. "They're not inviting us into a federation," Martinez said slowly. "They're setting us up as a shield." Russell nodded grimly. "It gets worse. Look at the last message. They've scheduled what they call resource extraction vessels to arrive in 6 months. That evening, Martinez met with President Grant in the secure underground facility. Dr. Harris, Admiral Powell, Lieutenant Russell, and a small team of military and scientific advisors joined them. "They don't see us as partners," Martinez explained, displaying the intercepted communications. "They see us as a resource to exploit and a buffer against their enemies." President Grant studied the information with a deep frown. "And they believe we have no choice but to accept their terms." "They severely underestimate us," Admiral Powell said. "Based on what they've seen, they think our most advanced weapons are chemical missiles and rudimentary energy weapons." "Doctor," Harris adjusted his glasses, "their scans have only detected what we've allowed them to see. Our quantum shielding technology has kept our advanced facilities hidden." President Grant stood up and paced the room. "So we have an advantage they don't know about. The question is, when do we reveal it?" "Not yet," Martinez advised. "Let's gather more intelligence first. Tomorrow's tour will give us a chance to learn more about their intentions." The next morning, Admiral Powell greeted the Zenithian delegation at Naval Station Norfolk. He wore his full-dress uniform with all his medals. Ambassador Zellthorn and Science Officer Vox Mira followed him across the base as he showed them aircraft carriers, destroyers, and fighter jets that had been in service for decades. "This is your most advanced naval vessel?" Vox Mira asked, her skin pulsing with what seemed like amusement as they stood on the deck of the USS Liberty, an aircraft carrier that had been officially retired but kept for training purposes. "One of our finest," Powell said with practiced pride. "Capable of launching 80 aircraft and armed with our most advanced missile defense systems." Zellthorn studied the ship with what passed for a smile on his alien face. "Impressive for chemical propulsion technology. Of course, a single Zenithian cruiser could neutralize your entire fleet in minutes." Powell nodded respectfully. "We have no doubt. That's why we're so grateful for your offer of protection." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Russell sat in a monitoring station below deck, carefully observing the scanning devices the Zenithians carried. Her team detected every frequency they used, every system they analyzed. That afternoon, while the alien delegation toured Peterson Space Force Base, Dr. Harris made a discovery. In his lab at MIT, he had been studying a sample of material that had flaked off one of the Zenithian shuttles. "Captain, their hull material isn't as advanced as they claimed," he told Martinez over a secure line. "It's vulnerable to certain frequencies of our plasma weapons." "Are you certain?" Martinez asked. "Completely. They've been exaggerating their technological superiority. After 3 days of tours and inspections, the Zenithians seemed satisfied." At a formal dinner hosted by the United Nations, Ambassador Zellthorn raised a glass in what he had learned was a human custom. "To our new partnership," he said. "The Zenithian Federation looks forward to guiding Earth to its proper place in the galactic community." Martinez smiled and raised her glass, in return, to understanding each other better every day. Later that night, Martinez, Powell, Harris, and Russell gathered in the secure facility with President Grant. On screens around them were the leaders of major nations, all connected through quantum-encrypted channels that the Zenithians couldn't detect. "They've seen what we wanted them to see," Martinez reported. "They believe our technology is at least a century behind theirs." "And what they haven't seen?" President Grant asked. Admiral Powell activated a holographic display showing hidden military installations around the world and beyond. "Our advanced fleet remains concealed. The lunar base shields are functioning perfectly. They have no idea about our Mars defense grid or the Jupiter station." "What about their intentions?" asked the president. Lieutenant Russell displayed the latest intercepted communications. "They plan to establish bases within 3 months. Full resource extraction begins in 6. And there's something new. They've requested that we dismantle our obsolete defense systems and accept their protection systems instead." "They want us defenseless," Powell said. President Grant looked at each person in the room, then at the world leaders on the screens. "I believe we've seen enough. Prepare Operation Deep Reveal. If diplomacy fails, we need to be ready to show our true strength." Martinez nodded. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." But in her heart, she knew it. 3 months had passed since the aliens first arrived. Spring turned to summer, and the novelty of the Zenithian presence had worn off for most people. Their ships were now just another part of the skyline in major cities. On the surface, relations between humans and aliens seemed friendly and productive. Dr. Harris worked late in his laboratory at MIT. The university had given him an entire floor for his research into Zenithian technology. What the aliens didn't know was that this lab had a second purpose: analyzing their weaknesses. The door opened and Science Officer Vox Mira entered. Her skin rippled with curious patterns of gold and green. "Dr. Harris, you work such long hours," she said. "Your dedication is admirable for your species." Harris smiled politely. "Thank you. We humans are eager to learn." Vox Mira moved closer to his workstation, her large eyes studying his equipment. "Tell me, Doctor, what do you think of the educational materials we've provided?" "They've been very helpful," Harris said, careful to hide his true thoughts. "The educational materials were deliberately basic, like textbooks for children." Good. Your progress is satisfactory." She paused, her skin shifting to darker tones. "However, some in the Federation grow concerned about Earth's independent streak." Harris looked up from his work. "Oh? In what way?" "Your leaders resist our recommendations. They question our guidance." She lowered her voice. "Between us, Doctor, I should tell you that not all planets receive such patience. Those that rejected our protection no longer present issues." Harris kept his expression neutral despite the clear threat. "I'm sure our leaders just need time to adjust to such big changes." After Vox Mira left, Harris activated his secure communicator and called Captain Martinez. "The gloves are starting to come off," he reported, recounting the veiled threat. "I've noticed," Martinez replied. "Their requests are becoming demands. We need to meet." The next morning, Martinez, Harris, Admiral Powell, and Lieutenant Russell gathered in the secure underground facility with President Grant. "The Zenithians have requested to place guidance officers in our major military installations," Martinez explained. "Spies, you mean?" Powell said. Lieutenant Russell nodded. "Based on the communications we've intercepted, they're growing impatient. They've moved up their timeline for resource extraction. They've also mentioned something called compliance technology they want to install in our major cities." President Grant's face hardened. "Mind control?" "We believe so," Russell confirmed. "How close is Operation Deep Reveal to ready?" the president asked. Admiral Powell brought up a holographic display showing military readiness statistics. "The first fleet can be revealed within 6 hours of your order. The orbital platforms need 12 hours to power up without detection. The lunar base is combat ready now." The president nodded slowly. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Captain Martinez, keep the diplomatic channels open. Buy us more time." Later that day, alarms sounded throughout the facility. Lieutenant Russell, rushed into Martinez's office. "Captain, we have a situation. The Zenithians have attacked our Mars research outpost." Martinez hurried to the command center where screens showed footage from Mars. A small Zenithian scout ship had fired upon the research station, destroying several modules. 12 scientists were reported dead. Admiral Powell was already on the line with Mars Command. "Defensive measures?" he asked. "None taken, sir," came the reply. "As per protocol, we maintained our cover. The surviving scientists evacuated to the hidden facilities beneath Olympus Mons. When confronted, Ambassador Zelthorn appeared on the video communication with no sign of remorse. "A regrettable incident. One of our scout ships detected what appeared to be an abandoned structure interfering with our planetary assessment. We had no record of life forms present." 12 people died, Ambassador," Martinez said coldly. Zelthorn's skin rippled with what might have been irritation. "A tragic misunderstanding. We offer compensation in the form of educational materials to prevent future misunderstandings." After the call ended, Martinez looked at President Grant. "Educational materials. They kill 12 of our people and offer us textbooks." The president's face was grim. "Enough is enough. Admiral Powell, initiate Phase 1 of Operation Deep Reveal." Throughout that night, military personnel around the world received coded messages. In secret bases, soldiers and sailors reported for emergency duty. In the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, hidden doors began to open in what appeared to be ordinary sections of the seafloor. At dawn, Ambassador Zelthorn and his delegation arrived at the United Nations for a scheduled meeting with Earth's leadership. They noticed immediately that Captain Martinez and Admiral Powell were absent. "Where are your military representatives?" Zelthorn demanded of President Grant. "They send their regrets," the president said calmly. "They're attending to an important matter. Perhaps you'd like to join me on the terrace. There's something I think you should see." Confused, the alien delegation followed President Grant to the large terrace overlooking the East River. The president checked her watch and then pointed toward the harbor. In the distance, the water began to churn and foam. Then, to the aliens' shock, an enormous vessel began to rise from beneath the waves. It was sleek and dark, nearly twice the size of the largest human ships the Zenithians had been shown. As it fully surfaced, more vessels appeared around it, an entire fleet that had been hiding underwater. "What is the meaning of this?" Zelthorn asked, his skin flashing with alarmed patterns. "This is the USS Intrepid and the First Fleet, President," Grant said calmly. "A small part of Earth's actual naval capability." At that moment, Captain Martinez and Admiral Powell stepped onto the terrace. "Sorry we're late," Martinez said. "We had to oversee the fleet's emergence." Zelthorn's large eyes blinked rapidly. "These vessels were not in your military records. They were not detected by our scans." Admiral Powell smiled slightly. "No, they weren't." "Why were we not informed of these capabilities?" the ambassador demanded, his translator struggling to keep up with his agitated speech. Martinez stepped forward. "Ambassador, Earth has a long history of conflict. We learned long ago not to reveal all our capabilities upon first meeting new civilizations." The Zenithian delegation huddled together, conversing rapidly in their own language. Lieutenant Russell, standing nearby with an earpiece, listened to the translation through their compromised communications. "They're panicking," she whispered to Martinez. "They're calling for instructions from their superiors." Zelthorn finally turned back to the humans. "These ships are somewhat more advanced than we expected, but still they are no match for Zenithian warcraft." "Perhaps," President Grant said, "but this is just the beginning of what we have to show you." She nodded to Admiral Powell, who spoke into his communicator. "Lunar Base Artemis, you are cleared to power up defense grid, orbital platforms, disengage stealth mode." Across the terrace, Dr. Harris handed tablets to the Zenithian delegation. On the screens, they could see live footage of what was happening in space. Around Earth's moon, hidden installations began to glow with power. In Earth orbit, what had appeared to be ordinary satellites suddenly transformed, revealing weapon systems and defense shields. For the first time since their arrival, the Zenithians looked truly shocked. "Now, Ambassador," President Grant said, firmly, I believe it's time to discuss new terms for our relationship. The next day, news screens around the world showed the same images. The massive USS Intrepid cutting through the waters of New York Harbor, surrounded by its escort fleet. For the first time, humans everywhere saw the true extent of their hidden defenses. Many were shocked. Some were angry at being kept in the dark. Most, however, felt pride and relief. Ambassador Zell Thorne had retreated to the Zenithian mothership hovering above New York City. For 24 hours, there had been no communication from the aliens. Finally, a message arrived requesting a meeting aboard their vessel. "It's a risk," Admiral Powell said during the emergency security meeting. "We don't know their intentions, now that they've been surprised." Captain Martinez shook her head. "If they wanted conflict, they would have started it already. They're reassessing." President Grant agreed with Martinez. "We'll accept the meeting, but with precautions. Admiral Powell, prepare Phase 2 of Operation Deep Reveal just in case." Later that afternoon, a small delegation including President Grant, Captain Martinez, Admiral Powell, Dr. Harris, and Lieutenant Russell boarded a military shuttle bound for the Zenithian mothership. Each human wore a small device developed by Dr. Harris that would protect them from any alien-influenced technology. The shuttle rose through the air toward the massive crystalline ship. Up close, it was even more impressive than it appeared from the ground, a structure nearly a mile long with sections that seemed to shift and move as if alive. They docked at an entry port and were met by Zenithian guards who led them through glowing corridors to a large chamber. Ambassador Zell Thorne waited with several other aliens the humans hadn't met before. "President Grant," the ambassador said, his skin pattern subdued. "We appreciate your willingness to continue our discussions despite yesterday's revelations." The president nodded. "We believe in open dialogue, Ambassador, though perhaps now we can speak more honestly with each other." "Indeed." Zell Thorne gestured to the aliens beside him. "Allow me to introduce High Commander Drelvox of the Zenithian Defense Force." The new alien stepped forward. Unlike Zell Thorne's diplomat's robes, Drelvox wore what was clearly a military uniform. His skin was mostly dark blue with sharp red patterns. "Your hidden fleet is impressive for a developing world," the commander said without pleasantries. "However, it remains technologically inferior to our warcraft." Admiral Powell smiled slightly. "Perhaps you'd like a demonstration of what our ships can actually do, Commander?" Drelvox made a sound that the translator didn't catch. "A demonstration? Very well." The meeting moved to an observation deck with a clear view of Earth below. Admiral Powell spoke into his communicator, giving orders to the fleet waiting in the harbor. Within minutes, the USS Intrepid moved out to open water surrounded by 4 escort vessels. Once they reached a designated area, the ships formed a precise formation. "Watch carefully," Powell said to the aliens. The Intrepid suddenly accelerated to a speed no naval vessel should have been capable of reaching. It performed a series of maneuvers that defied the normal limitations of ships its size. Water sprayed as it turned at impossible angles, stopped instantly from full speed, and then lifted partially out of the water using technology the Zenithians had believed humans did not possess. But the real demonstration came next. A small Zenithian shuttle approached the area, under orders from Commander Drelvox. "This shuttle will fire a low-power energy beam," the commander explained. "Your ships will experience minimal damage." Powell looked unconcerned. "Go ahead." The shuttle fired a purple beam directly at the Intrepid. Instead of striking the ship, the beam hit an invisible barrier that rippled with blue energy on impact. The shield technology was nothing like what the Zenithians thought humans could develop. "Impossible," muttered Science Officer Vox Mira. "Their energy manipulation technology should be at least a century away from this level." Admiral Powell turned to the shocked aliens. "And that's just what we're willing to show you." Commander Drelvox's skin darkened. "These capabilities were deliberately hidden from us." "Just as you hid your true intentions for Earth," Martinez countered. "We know you plan to use us as a buffer against the Draconian Collective. We know about your planned resource extraction without our consent." The aliens fell silent. Lieutenant Russell, monitoring their communications through her earpiece, heard their frantic exchanges. "They're discussing something called the Emergency Protocol," she whispered to Martinez. Something about withdrawal of their forces. Commander Drelvox finally spoke. It seems we have misjudged your civilization. Yes, President Grant said firmly. You have. Now shall we discuss a real partnership instead of your planned colonization? Before the aliens could respond, alarms began to sound throughout. Their ship. A Zenithian officer rushed into the room and spoke urgently to Commander Drelvox. What's happening? Martinez asked. Zelthorn's skin showed clear patterns of distress. We've received word that a draconian scout fleet has been detected entering your solar system. They must have followed us here. President Grant turned to Admiral Powell. Implement Phase 2 immediately. Powell nodded and spoke into his communicator. All orbital platforms full power. Lunar Base Artemis battle stations, all hidden fleet elements emerge and take defensive positions. Around the world, humans watched in awe as more vessels rose from the oceans. From hidden mountain bases emerged squadrons of aerospace fighters. From beneath the polar ice caps came massive submarines unlike any seen publicly before. In orbit, satellites transformed into battle stations. On the moon, massive weapon systems powered up, visible as points of light even from Earth. Dr. Harris approached the shocked Zenithian leaders. Perhaps now would be a good time to share what you know about the Draconians. If we're going to fight them together, we need all available information. Commander Drelvox studied the human delegation with new respect. You've been preparing for war all along. We've been preparing to defend ourselves, Martinez corrected. Earth has seen enough conflict in its history to know the value of peace and the necessity of strength. The commander nodded slowly. Very well. The Draconians are formidable opponents. They've pushed back our forces in 3 star systems already. We came to Earth hoping to establish a defensive position using your resources. Using us as sacrificial pawns, you mean? Admiral Powell said. A strategic necessity, we believed, Zelthorn admitted. Based on our assessment of your capabilities, we thought you needed our protection. President Grant's face was stern. And now? Commander Drelvox's skin shifted to a pattern no human had seen before. Now we request your assistance as equals. The Draconian fleet will arrive within 3 days. Even with your surprising capabilities, you cannot face them alone. And neither can you, it seems, Martinez observed. No, the commander admitted. We cannot. President Grant looked at her advisors, then back to the aliens. Then perhaps it's time to discuss a real alliance, one based on mutual respect rather than deception. As they spoke, Earth's hidden fleets took position around the planet, revealing the full extent of humanity's secret preparations. The Zenithians watched with growing amazement as the true power of the supposedly primitive humans was finally revealed. 3 days after the revelations, both Earth and Zenithian forces worked together to prepare for the coming Draconian fleet. The mood had changed completely. Where once the Zenithians had spoken with condescension, now they treated humans with cautious respect. In a large command center beneath the United Nations building, Captain Martinez stood before a holographic display showing the positions of Earth's defense forces. Admiral Powell directed ship movements while Lieutenant Russell coordinated intelligence from both human and Zenithian sources. The Draconians have passed Jupiter's orbit, Russell reported. 17 ships in total, 3 large warships, the May. Rest appear to be support vessels. Commander Drelvox studied the display with concern. Their capital ships carry devastating weapons. Do not underestimate their firepower. President Grant entered the command center, followed by the world leaders who had gathered for this critical moment. What's our status, Admiral? First and second fleets are in position, Powell replied. Lunar Base Artemis is at full readiness. All orbital platforms are armed and shielded. Dr. Harris hurried into the room, his hair wild as if he hadn't slept. I've finished analyzing the Zenithian weapon specifications. We can modify our shield frequencies to better withstand draconian weapons. Do it, ordered the president. Ambassador. Zelthorn approached President Grant. His skin patterns showed what humans had learned to recognize as humility, something they had never seen from a Zenithian before. President Grant, I must express the Federation's regret for our earlier approach to Earth. We believed we were dealing with a developing civilization in need of guidance. We were mistaken. The President nodded. The past is behind us now, Ambassador. Today we face a common enemy. A large screen activated showing a live feed from NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station. The Draconian ships came into view, dark angular vessels with red energy glowing from multiple points along their hulls. They moved in tight formation, clearly ready for battle. They've detected us, Russell said. They're scanning both Earth and Zenithian ships. Commander Drelvox turned to Admiral Powell. In previous encounters, they attacked without communication. Prepare yourselves. But instead of attacking, the lead Draconian ship transmitted a signal. The command center's main screen flickered and showed the image of a reptilian being with scaled skin, vertical pupils, and a crest of spines along its head. This is Fleet Commander Kraz of the Draconian Collective, the alien said, its voice deep and rumbling even through the translator. We tracked Zenithian vessels to this system. Who speaks for this world? President Grant stepped forward. I am President Eleanor Grant of Earth. This is our home system. The Draconian commander's eyes narrowed. You shelter Zenithian forces. They are our enemies. Surrender them to us and your world will be spared. Before the president could respond, Martinez moved beside her. Commander Kraz, Earth has chosen to ally with the Zenithian Federation. We will not surrender anyone to you. Then you choose destruction, Kraz growled. The Zenithians seek only to use your world as a buffer. They have done this before. We are aware of their original intentions, Martinez replied calmly. Our alliance has been renegotiated on equal terms. The Draconian seemed surprised by this answer. Equal terms with humans? He looked off-screen, apparently consulting with someone. Our scans show primitive technology. You cannot hope to withstand our attack. Admiral Powell stepped forward. Your scans are incomplete, Commander. Perhaps you'd like a clearer picture of what you're facing. With that, Powell gave the order. Around Earth, the final phase of Operation Deep Reveal activated. From a hidden base on Mars, a fleet of advanced warships emerged. From the dark side of the Moon, massive defense platforms moved into view. And from Earth orbit, what appeared to be a space station transformed, revealing itself as the USS Constitution, Earth's most advanced command vessel. The Draconian commander's eyes widened. Impossible. Our intelligence indicated no such capabilities. Your intelligence was based on what the Zenithians believed, Martinez said. They were wrong. On the screen, they could see the Draconian commander consulting urgently with his officers. Finally, he turned back to the camera. We will withdraw to assess this new information. But know this, the Collective does not forgive Zenithian expansion. We will return. The transmission ended. The command center erupted in tense discussion as they watched the Draconian fleet slowly turn and move away from Earth. They're retreating, Lieutenant Russell confirmed. Heading back toward the outer system, President Grant turned to the Zenithian commander. Will they return? Eventually, Drelvox admitted, but they do not enter battles they are not certain they can win. Your show of force has purchased time. Ambassador Zelthorn stepped forward. This changes everything. The Federation Council must be informed of Earth's true capabilities. A new type of alliance must be formed. 1 week later, Captain Martinez stood on the observation deck of the USS Constitution in Earth orbit. Through the viewport, she could see the blue planet below and the Zenithian fleet in formation nearby. A shuttle approached, carrying Ambassador Zelthorn and the newly arrived members of the Zenithian High Council. Admiral Powell joined her at the window. Never thought I'd see the day when alien diplomats would come to us as equals rather than superior beings. Martinez smiled. They came expecting to find primitives they could impress with shiny technology. Instead, they found equals who had learned from their own bloody history to always be prepared. Dr. Harris entered the observation deck, looking more rested than he had in months. The Zenithian Science Academy has sent their top researchers. They're actually asking to learn from us about quantum shielding. Lieutenant Russell arrived next with her intelligence team. The treaty documents are ready, Captain. The terms have been accepted by all parties. The shuttle docked, and soon the Zenithian delegation entered the Constitution's grand meeting hall. The ship had been designed for this very purpose: to show the true face of humanity to the stars when the time was right. Ambassador Zelthorn approached with the Zenithian High Counselor, a distinguished alien with elaborate patterns flowing across his skin. "Captain Martinez," said the High Counselor, "on behalf of the 7 worlds of the Zenithian Federation, I offer formal apology for our previous approach to Earth. We came seeking a protected outpost. We found instead a valuable ally." President Grant stepped forward to meet the alien diplomat. "And we are ready to be that ally, Counselor, not as a junior partner to be guided, but as equals with our own strengths to contribute." The treaty signing took place beneath the great dome of the Constitution's hall. Earth would join the wider galactic community, not as a protected world, but as a full member with equal standing. Human technology would be shared with the Zenithians and theirs with Earth. Together they would face the draconian threat and whatever else waited among the stars. As the ceremony concluded, Ambassador Zelthorn approached Martinez privately. "When we first arrived, we thought you would be impressed by our ships and technology. We never imagined we would be the ones left in awe." Martinez smiled. "The greatest mistake in any first contact is underestimation, Ambassador. We learned that lesson from our own history. Now you've learned it too. Outside the viewports of the Constitution, Earth's hidden fleets patrolled proudly in formation with Zenithian vessels, no longer concealed but revealed in their full power and glory to the watching stars.